Hello everyone, so I'm back today, and I'm here with a Ben Shapiro ranks every Star Wars movie thing. So yeah, he won't have any crazy takes, that's for sure. I don't really have any other things to set this up except subscribe. I'm gonna do some more reaction content to stuff because it's less work. I've also got some other stuff, but subscribe. Do that stuff anyways. Let's start this thing. Okay, how
do I... So, we are going to rank all of the Star Wars films canonically, but we're going to go worst to best. Worst to best. I know, we already
There's no such thing as a bad Star Wars movie, but okay.
Know what the best one is, but we'll start worst to best. Okay, the worst Star Wars film. Phantom Menace.
Oh, I was going to guess what it was. Wait, Phantom Menace? This was before The Last Jedi? No, because it's a Solo. Huh.
Charting in at number 11. Now, I know a lot of people think Attack of the Clones goes here. You're going to be shocked.
Yeah, it does.
Where I put Attack of the Clones. A lot of people say Last Jedi.
He's going to put Attack of the Clones at number 1, isn't he?
I hear you. Last Jedi is hot garbage. It's a
No, it isn't. It's a great movie.
Terrible film. A truly terrible film filled with plot holes and stupidity. Phantom Menace, however, is worse. The reason that Phantom Menace is worse is because George Lucas makes a critical error. He thinks that the reason that kids like Star Wars is because they want to see kids. This,
wait, what?
However, is worse. The reason that Phantom Menace is worse is because George Lucas makes a critical error. He thinks that the reason that kids like Star Wars is because they want to see kids. This is one of the big...
Because they want to see kids? Is that what he said?
...errors that a lot of people who make kids films do. I mean, Pixar doesn't make this error, by the way. Pixar does not make films exclusively about small children. Kids don't actually want to watch kids. Kids kind of want to be adults. Making Jedi Anakin 6 years old.
But that's like the prequel. The idea of a prequel is that he's a kid. Like, I agree with the premise that, kids movies don't always want to see, just see a bunch of kids. They want to see movies made about kids, but not necessarily, with the maturity level of kids. But I don't agree with the idea that that's the problem with The Phantom Menace. I actually think The Phantom Menace is a great film. In my opinion, it's the best prequel film.
Is really weird. And then making Jedi Anakin significantly younger than Padme is super duper.
That is very true. And I think again, the problem is kind of when you look, and I think this is why people kind of, I have the wrong opinion about The Phantom Menace is because, yeah, it's a little bit creepy, but then it's really creepy when you know that age difference and then Attack of the Clones happens, right? So, because that's when the relationship starts. But yeah, I agree with this.
Super weird and becomes even weirder in the future movies.
The Attack of the Clones, exactly.
Everything with young Anakin is almost unwatchable. Liam Neeson is fine. Ewan McGregor is fine. They are criminally underused in this film.
That's true. That is also true. I will give him that.
And the film just is exorbitantly long. It's really long. I remember seeing it in the theater, being really excited for it, and walking out going, eh.
Yeah, it is long. I mean, I loved it, but that's also because I'm a weird nerd, and anytime they're talking about trade blockades, I'm happy, so.
It was not an auspicious beginning to the prequels. Okay, number 10, Last Jedi, obviously.
Again, I don't know how you can as much as you may not like The Last Jedi, justifying it above Attack of the Clones is almost criminal. Like, almost. And then I think I saw that there's Attack of the Clones, you can't put it above Attack of the Clones, or below Attack of the Clones, sorry. Like, The Last Jedi was not, the perfect movie, but it's not worse than Attack of the Clones.
Last Jedi is just flamingly bad. A flamingly bad film.
It's not.
Now, there could have been a moment where the film could have gotten good, right? There's a moment where Rey and Kylo look like they're going to team up, and then it's going to radically change the history of Star Wars, that suddenly the dark side and the light side are fighting on the same side, and all of a sudden the universe changes radically. And then Rian Johnson, because he's an idiot, he has them separate off again, and then you get the ridiculous Luke Skywalker
Okay, so, I don't know if I've expressed this enough, but, I agree with Ben that sounds so wrong to say. Anyways, Ben Shapiro's right in the sense that, the idea of Star Wars, like there is a validity, I guess, to this, right? And there is this kind of idea that there could have been a more radical change than just, you know, the decapitating of Snoke. Like there could have been, look, let's do this to fight a bigger evil, a greater evil, right? And that could have still been Palpatine in the Rise of Skywalker, but like, and I think it did. They kind of did do that in Rise of Skywalker, just again to some extent. They could have also done the flipping of the thing where Rey becomes evil, Kylo becomes good, or whatever. I think they kind of just like, I think Rian Johnson was a little bit too scared to push the envelope too much, but
hologram face off with Kylo Ren, and you get the idiocy of a film in which you basically redo.
And I didn't like the way Luke died in this, and I've said it before. Although I think I've kind of softened my stance on that since then, just because, you know, people have made some good points about how, like, you know, Obi-Wan kind of died in a weak way, and no one says anything about that.
The Battle of Hoth, except you make it on a salt planet, and then you say it's a salt planet 10 times so that people don't think that it's just the Ice Battle of Hoth all over again, when it's obviously just the Ice Battle of Hoth all over again. They totally should have killed Finn. They totally should have killed what's the name of the person everyone forgets? Rose. Everyone understands. They should have killed Rose. That would have at least given it some stakes. The Last Jedi totally destroys Luke Skywalker's character.
They killed Luke and Leia in that movie. How many more stakes do you need?
And this is one of the problems, as we will see when we get to the next one. One of the problems with the new
He's going with Rise of Skywalker here, watch.
trilogy is that it is based on destroying all of your old characters. Number 9, Force Awakens. Again, people gonna think.
Like, The Force Awakens is basically A New Hope. And A New Hope, in my opinion, is the best Star Wars movie. Like, and also, like, you think about the nostalgia of the moment, right, with The Force Awakens, and how this is Star Wars coming back to big screen for the first time since the prequels, and for, like, I think The Force Awakens is better than any of the prequel movies. But yeah, I don't think this is right at all.
This is controversial. It is not controversial. Force Awakens is a bad film. The reason it is a bad film is not because on its own it is such a bad film. The reason is because it takes all of your old characters and just murders them in front of your eyes.
Well, I mean, outside of Han Solo, because of the 3 seconds that Luke Skywalker was in it. That's what he's saying. He's saying the character assassination of Luke Skywalker because he threw the lightsaber away. I see.
Literally murders them. It takes all the characters you grew up with and loved and who made your childhood, Han Solo, and turns Han Solo into...
Wait, okay, but can we say this and then not say the same thing about the prequels? Like, didn't the prequels take the characters you love and murder them? The Anakin, Darth Vader, like, they took the character of Darth Vader that you loved and murdered it. Right? You know, we can both play this game, right?
A loser divorced dad flying around the universe like Cheech and Chong smoking dope in the...
But again, when they found Han the first time, he was this self-absorbed, you know, that's what he was. That's his character. Him doing this now is not a surprise.
Millennium Falcon. And then has him murdered at the hands of his own son because Leia...
Oh yeah, Star Wars having sons murder their father. That's never happened before, right?
Is too chicken to go confront her own son. Now, as you will see, you're going to be shocked by where I rank Rise of Skywalker. J.J. Abrams does try to fix this with some lens flare in Rise of Skywalker, but the fact is that Force Awakens is a criminal act against the Star Wars legacy.
Again, the prequels existed. That's all you need to do for criminal acts. I mean, that's it.
They decided they were going to kill off all of the olds in order to build characters who are significantly less interesting than the old characters in the first place and kill off your childhood in the process. I could not hate Force Awakens more than I hate Force Awakens. I walked out of the theater and I thought, okay, that was all right. And then every waking moment since then I've thought about Force Awakens, I've gotten angrier at Force.
If you're thinking this much, and I love Star Wars, and I think about Star Wars often, if you're thinking this much about Force Awakens at a point where you get angrier every time, every waking moment since you saw it, like I saw it twice actually in theaters. It was a good movie. Enjoyed it. But I didn't think about it deeply enough. Every waking moment, I'm haunted by it. I don't care. I love Star Wars. I don't care that much.
Awakens, and so it ranks in among the worst of the Star Wars films. Number 8, Attack of the Clones. Now everybody hates.
You can't do this. Like, you cannot call yourself a Star Wars fan or even a Star Wars watcher, honestly, if you're gonna even try to make this argument. You can't. Like, just the magnitude of, again, the context of The Force Awakens coming out, right? at least they brought back your favorite characters. Because I'll tell you something, you know what the Attack of the Clones didn't do? It didn't bring back any of your favorite characters. It brought back that the theoretical mother of Anakin, I guess. That was a very anticlimactic movie. No one's going to argue that, right? It brought back Obi-Wan. I guess that's the only character, and I guess Anakin, and Yoda, I guess. Yoda. Okay. Great, it brought back all your favorite characters.
Hates Attack of the Clones. I've heard people say Attack of the Clones is the worst of the prequels. It is not the worst of the prequels.
Yes, it is.
Phantom Menace is a worse film than Attack of the Clones. Why? Because Christopher Lee is great, and Count Dooku's character is poorly written. But Count Dooku is the secret hero of the Star Wars prequels. Count Dooku is not wrong. He is a separatist from a Senate that has been taken over secretly by a Sith Lord. He's the only one who knows this, and he has set off to move on outside of a trade federation that is instituting tariffs against planets he doesn't wish to see tariffed. He's a free trade libertarian, Count Dooku. Beyond that, he has a pretty good lightsaber battle with both Ewan McGregor and Yoda.
Nope, we cannot do this. I wish I should have pulled it. If I knew, I should have seen this. Sometimes when I think should I pre-watch these just so I can know? Okay, I want everyone to go back now because I don't have the clip pulled. But go back and maybe it'll get edited in here if I do editing. But that lightsaber fight between Yoda and Count Dooku, I want you to watch it, okay? It's pretty easy to find. It is awful. It's a CGI mess. It's like little flippy Yoda. You can't go to puppet. You leave puppet Yoda for CGI Yoda, and then you do this with Yoda.
The basic plotting of it is more interesting than Phantom Menace. Now, it does have some of the worst romance in the history of film, right?
I don't like sand. It's coarse. Yeah. It is the worst romance in the history of film. I can agree with that, actually. It is all of that dialogue is so clunky and so terrible. All of the Anakin Padme stuff is so clunky and so terrible that it makes. Now, I think there are cool parts of Attack of the Clones too. I love Star Wars. I don't think there's no such thing as a bad Star Wars movie. I think Attack of the Clones is really good. I love the assassination plot thing in Attack of the Clones. I think that's a really cool thing where it's kind of you have to protect this person because someone's trying to kill her. I think there's a lot of good stuff with the origins of the clones. I think Clone Wars has kind of, obviously, retroactively, and maybe he'll talk about this. I don't know if he's seen the Clone Wars, but I think the Clone Wars has retroactively made Attack of the Clones and the prequels generally so much better. And I don't think the sequels actually got that kind of retroactive making better because I guess Rebels kind of, but even then not really. The only thing they really had was that show The Resistance, and that was god-awful, so, you can't even pretend that made it retroactively better.
I mean, everything involving Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman, it's a horror show, it's death.
Yeah, that's true.
You are smoother than sand, milady is one of the worst lines in the history. I hate sand, it's coarse and... Oh my God. It is that film that more than any really destroyed my perception of Natalie Portman as a decent actress. I still think that she is wildly overrated. But with that...
Okay, go watch Black Swan and then get back to me on that one because I don't agree with that statement. I think she was god-awful in those movies. I think she'd been awful in Marvel. Really, she hasn't been given good roles.
Is it better than Phantom Menace? Yes, because at least you start to get flashes of what's going to happen in Revenge of the Sith, which, as we will see, actually is a pretty good movie. Okay, number 7, Solo. Here we move on into the movies that are watchable.
So, I agree. I think I'm actually very happy that he didn't put Solo at the bottom. So one of the first trailer reactions I ever did on this channel was Solo. I think The Last Jedi was the first one. I think Solo was the second one. And I'll tell you, I was very disappointed in Solo with the trailers. That movie was great, though. I'll tell you. They cast such a great guy.
Right, we've now moved into the arena of movies that you would rewatch if you saw them beginning on TNT, right, where you're flipping through it and you see a scene and you need to watch it. Right, if you're flipping through and you see something from Force Awakens, nope. You see something from Phantom Menace, you're double nope. Something from Attack of the Clones, hey. You see something from Solo, maybe you'll stop. Now, I know a lot of people are down on Solo. I'm not sure why. I think Solo is amusing. It's kind of fun. It doesn't sell out Han Solo's character the way that the sequels do, right? The sequels actually...
I mean, again, I don't understand the idea of character assassination for a character which you don't know how they end. You know what I mean? You can't really assassinate a character who's just naturally evolving, but okay.
destroy Han Solo's character. They turn him from his whole hero's journey in the original Star Wars, Han Solo, is from rogue who only cares about himself and is a mercenary to self-sacrificing general in the Resistance who's going to get married at the end and have little Jedi babies with Leia, right? That is his hero's journey. And then they completely revert him back to rogue who only cares.
So I don't know if he's ever seen a movie before, but character regression is actually a very common trope. Now, maybe it's not a great storytelling tactic, but it absolutely is something that happens more often than not, even when you have direct sequels, right? You go look at most movies. The direct sequel kind of backsliding almost of characters, right? And I think one of the problems with the prequels, by the way, is the whininess of Anakin. Like even the Luke thing, right? And I know he'll bring this up at some point, I'm sure. But Anakin was very whiny in the prequels, right? And even in the Clone Wars TV show, right? His character is whiny. Luke's character throughout the entirety of the original trilogy is whiny. Luke's character in The Force Awakens for 5 seconds and The Last Jedi is whiny. There's almost like and then obviously Kylo's character is whiny. Like that family just happens to be filled with a bunch of whiny babies. And that's just kind of how they are. A bunch of entitled, whiny kids.
About himself in the sequels. Solo doesn't do that. Solo is starting that journey. The problem with Solo is that it sort of gives him the hero's journey before the hero's journey. Yeah. He has to start off with being this dissolute rogue who is cynical and nasty, right? That has to be the hero's journey beginning in episode 4. Solo precedes that. He already has sympathies towards.
But by the way, again, just to kind of add something back to that's called character regression. That's something that happens. That happens between Solo and Force or New Hope, and that's what happens between the Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens.
Towards the rebellion, he already is showing some aspects of self-sacrifice, which is kind of weird. That's the problem with Solo. Also, I will say that the Kessel Run is completely misdone. If you take a shortcut in the Kessel Run, it doesn't count as you.
Well, because we were Kessel Run being, or parsecs, I guess, being time versus distance is the question, which this movie answers probably incorrectly.
Doing it in less than 12 parsecs, but it's got some amusing moments. The robot in Solo is one of the better robots. One of the better droids in all of Star Wars. So Solo ranks at number 7. Rise of Skywalker at number 6.
The feminist liberator droid? Okay.
So people hated Rise of Skywalker because they are wrong. Rise of Skywalker has half of the movie is just throwaway nonsense, right?
I'm not sure what to think of this, but let's see.
The very beginning where you have the Millennium Falcon hopping and skipping planet to planet is really dumb and useless and very J.J. Abrams. The part of it that's good is that it actually goes back to respecting the legacy of Star Wars. Because remember, Force Awakens killed off Han Solo for no apparent reason in order to kill off the old to make room for the new. Last Jedi then decided to...
Well, hold on. No, they killed him off because Han Solo didn't want to come back. They had to drag Harrison Ford to even show up. So you could keep him. Like beyond everything, there's a business reason for that, which is you had to find a way to keep Han Solo. The reason they killed off Leia was not because they wanted to, make room for the new, is because Carrie Fisher had passed away. The only character who they killed off, maybe for the sake of the new, is Luke Skywalker. Also the fact that, because I don't know for a fact, but I'm going to assume that he hated the idea of Rey saying, I am a Skywalker, right? So I'm assuming, just going to assume here, that he was not a fan of that. So I'm going to assume that there's a good reason why this is so high up on his list.
Go even further and kill off Luke Skywalker as a good character. And then kill off the idea that the Skywalker family matters at all, because apparently random kids just get the Force. And which
But we agree, the Force is in all living things, right? It's just some people can use it better than others. But
cuts the entire trilogy. Rise of...
But again, you literally have full planets. Like, this is not even like me making stuff up. This is like actual canonical stuff, where you have full planets that are very Force sensitive. Does that mean they're all Jedi? No. The Night Sisters are Force sensitive. Are they Jedi? No. Are they Sith? No. You can be connected to the Force without being a Jedi.
Skywalker retcons. Basically, Rise of Skywalker is, what if I just crap all over Rian Johnson? And I'm all for it, man. I am there for it. Basically, it is, we're going to retcon this entire history. We're going to shoehorn Leia into, she was actually a Jedi. We're going to retcon Luke into...
But again, like, is it unbelievable to assume that the daughter of the most powerful, theoretically most powerful, most Force-sensitive Jedi ever also has Force powers? Like, it isn't like the monarchy where it has to be like, you know, or like it isn't like something where you have to be like the next male child. Like, there's no reason to assume that if you have that, because again, if we want to use the prequels, which you, I guess, don't love, but, you know, kind of love, in the midichlorian count, right? You assume we're very high on Leia. So is there no reason to assume she can, again, to some extent, learn how to use the Force? And again, you know, there's some ridiculousness with that scene where she forced herself back in, but...
Why aren't you respecting Jedi traditions? No burning of Jedi books, no throwing away of lightsabers. Why aren't you respecting Jedi?
But again, whiny, spoiled kid is literally the Skywalker family name, like, brand.
Traditions. We retcon Han Solo into, yeah, he's a hero who cared about his son and was willing to self-sacrifice. We retcon everything. We retcon everything. And we make the biggest retcon of all, which is the most important one, which is that Rey is actually Palpatine's granddaughter. Now, naturally, Disney screwed this up, and they tried to retcon the retcon afterward, right? They tried to suggest that Palpatine was actually a clone Palpatine. He wasn't actually...
Okay, so I don't know for a fact how Disney tried to retcon the retcon. They said that Palpatine might be a clone, but I don't know if he knows this, but I'll tell you a secret, okay? Clones share the same DNA. In theory, again, we don't know because clones aren't real, but in theory, clones share the same DNA. At least in Star Wars, we know this from cloning. Clones share the same DNA as other clones, right? This is the idea of clone troopers from the prequels that he apparently does not like. But from Attack of the Clones, right? Clones share the same DNA. And you can clone people. And you can clone children. Did you know that? So I'll tell you. So there's Jango Fett and there's Boba Fett. Okay? Boba Fett, obviously, is in the prequels. Pretty cool character. His father, Jango Fett. They're all built out of the clone trooper DNA. But the people in Camino cloned him a child. Anyways.
Palpatine. Okay, I understand. Palpatine died at the end of Return of the Jedi. I also understand, whatever, man. Okay, whatever. It's got to actually be Palpatine if this is to have any meaning at all. But it makes sense that she's Palpatine's
clones all the time.
Granddaughter, because the most powerful Force being in the galaxy is indeed Emperor Palpatine. So
no, it was Anakin Skywalker. Did you not watch Star Wars?
For her to do that, it completely solves the Mary Jane problem, which was a huge problem in Force Awakens, that she picks up a
I hope he explains to me what that is.
But... lightsaber, and suddenly she's fighting Ben Solo, who's been training for 20 years.
Oh, right, where you can't just magically have power, though, I see.
And has Skywalker blood. Right now, she's like, well, no, I'm a Palpatine kid. He's wounded, I'm a Palpatine kid.
Well, so now you don't care about... So now Leia having power is bad because she is, again, you know, the descendant of one of the most powerful Jedi. But Rey having it is okay because now we know she's the descendant of one of the most evil Sith.
Check this out, right? Like, okay, got it. That makes sense. Now that makes sense. They bring back all the old music from Return of the Jedi, which is great. They bring back a lot of the old scenery from Return of the Jedi, which is just fantastic. They allow Han a better goodbye, which was necessary because the way they killed him in Force Awakens is disrespectful. They allowed Luke...
I don't know if he knows J.J. Abrams directed both, but anyway.
A better goodbye by having him force Rey's from the grave, the X-Wing, in the same way that Yoda did, which is really fantastic, as opposed to the idiotic way they got rid of him in Last Jedi, where he basically Joe Biden's it, right? I mean, he just sort of like plots and disappears of old age, and then just so you could have that shot of the two sons.
Before Biden was elected president, I don't know.
Like Tatooine, oh, I see the parallelism. Ugh, God, Rian Johnson. Okay, so Rise of Skywalker comes in at number 6 because it actually respects the tradition.
Hey, Ben, I don't know if you know this, but J.J. Abrams directed The Force Awakens.
And you get points for that. Number 5, Return of the Jedi. So Return of the...
So I'm just doing math right now. That means you have Return of the Jedi above or below Rogue One, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Revenge of the Sith. Right? Because that would make it 5. Okay.
The Jedi, I would say 2/3 of this movie is fantastic and 1/3 of it is so.
By the way, everyone praises the lightsaber fights in this one. But yeah, we'll put it down.
Everything that is Luke and Darth Vader related is just great. The final throne room stuff.
I want him to go back and watch the Ewoks, any of the Ewok scenes.
Is just fantastic. All of that is great. It has great music. The dynamic between Palpatine, Ian McDiarmid is fantastic. The dynamic between Palpatine and Darth Vader and Luke is the best thing about the movie. Han becoming a more responsible human being is good. The entire speeder scene is actually a very cool scene on Endor.
Okay, so you did like
The second Death Star and the plot to trap the rebels is good. Even Lando flying the Millennium Falcon makes some sense. The Ewoks are not great. The space battle doesn't seem to have tremendous consequences. It's obviously not as impactful as the...
But again, you got to decide what you want to prioritize in terms of stakes. Not everything can have stakes. Some things have to have stakes. Other things have to be background things. The space battle in this last one was a background thing. Why? Because Luke wasn't involved. The space battle only served as a, hey, we're going to kill all your friends type thing. That was only stakes that they had. The reason for that, again, and also, by the way, the space battle was the reason the Death Star, like, anyways.
As the New Hope space battle, but
again, that's because Luke was involved in that one. But okay.
In concluding the trilogy, it's good. Also, the Jabba stuff at the beginning, there's a great thread I saw from a friend of mine, Frank Fleming, online, where he completely deconstructs the Jabba stuff and be like, what was Luke's actual plan? So his plan was,
Okay, I'll let him say what his version of it, but I think Luke's plan was pretty much just, let's just hope to God that everything kind of works out for me. Like, I don't think Luke had a plan. I think Luke was just hoping that he'd be intimidating enough to make things happen.
And the droids in. And then, do they get kept by Jabba, or do they not? Like, he'd have to then rescue the droids, right? Because if Jabba had kept the droids and be like, okay, here's Han, would they have just left R2 and C-3PO there? No.
But, like, okay, I think the idea is this. And now maybe this is wrong, but I think it's kind of like, okay, Jabba's going to probably keep the droids because he believes he is smart and he understands the value of free droids. That he understands they can't do much without him telling them. And I think he just kind of hoped that he would try to execute them, because I think he does make a reference to the fact that Jabba basically sends, because he lived on Tatooine, remember, right? So this is like, Jabba's not some completely foreign creature to him. He understands the Sarlacc pit too. So I think he was kind of assuming, okay, Jabba's going to try to execute all of us, maybe not Han, but at least me and Leia in the Sarlacc pit, right? And I think he was kind of really just expecting to be able to go in and tear everything up, but,
So he has Lando in there undercover. Lando never actually does anything undercover. Then he sends in the droids to be captured for no apparent reason. Then he sends in Leia to make the trade with Jabba for Han, but now he still has to rescue C-3PO and R2. Then he shows up, but he doesn't actually just brandish the lightsaber and tell Jabba he's gonna blow him away, like kill him, unless he releases all of his friends. He proceeds to be thrown into a Rancor pit, which presumably Lando knew about and could have warned him about. Like, the beginning makes no sense. It's fun, but it makes no sense.
You can't stab Jabba.
With that said, Return of the Jedi, the conclusion of the trilogy is very moving, and it definitely works. Revenge of the Sith is number 4.
Also, the action scene, that, regardless of the logical error, which maybe there is one, him jumping off the thing, doing the flip, getting the lightsaber, and that whole thing that proceeds is awesome.
Now, Revenge of the Sith,
this is wrong.
I rewatched it recently. It's good. It's a good movie. Revenge of the Sith, the last 2/3 of it is really good. Everything from when Palpatine...
Okay, I don't love Revenge of the Sith like this, or anywhere close to this. But, I'll give him, this is not the worst take in the world.
Becomes overtly maniacal to the end. Order 66, that whole sequence is very effective, where you're seeing all of these Jedi get shot down and killed. All of that is really effective. The Hayden Christensen turn at the end is good. It actually works emotionally when Ewan McGregor is upset about all of this. Now, Hayden Christensen still can't act, but that's just the wages of sin. It's
so much better at being evil.
Good. There's a lot in Revenge of the Sith that's great. The final lightsaber battle is excellent. The big flaw in Revenge of the Sith is that the sort of rationale for why Darth Vader becomes Darth Vader doesn't really work too well, because the question becomes why he still works for the Emperor afterward, right? Because he apparently falls to the dark side because he wants the power to be able to save Padme. Okay, Padme dies. So why is he still hanging out with the Emperor?
He doesn't have a choice. Like, he's kind of saved by the Emperor. Like, I don't think he gives him much of a choice in that matter, but, Like, I think he's kind of like, you're going to die otherwise. I saved your life. You owe it to me, right?
At that point, the Emperor made him a promise. The Emperor didn't fulfill the promise. Also, we all know that the Sith apprentice tries to kill the Sith master, so why doesn't he just try and kill
Well, because it takes time, right? Like you try to learn how to kill him because look, at the end of the day, we understand he can't kill because you just like you can't make the claim. Okay, well, you're talking about the most powerful force user ever as the master, and then not explain how the guy's gonna kill. Like he, and if you want to believe some of the stuff which is no longer canon, but like he obviously trained Padawans with you look at Star Killer, right, etc. to try to actually kill Palpatine. Like he sends them to kill them, and it doesn't work. Right, so like if you, and again, we can disbelieve that, but then he has the Inquisitors, and you can argue that maybe he was trying to because you have to have a Padawan who helps you kill your master, right? Like it's the 2 versus 1 thing.
Palpatine like right away and take control of the galaxy if that's really what he's up to. It's weird that he becomes sort of a functionary in the galactic regime of Palpatine after it turns out that his wife.
But he's also heavily corrupt at this point. Like you can't really think straight or think logically when you're just this intent on hatred.
Died and Palpatine didn't do anything to save him, to save her. Number 3, I'm gonna go off the.
Also, he killed her. She didn't die on her own. Like his vision was, oh, she's gonna die, and then he kills her. He kind of also probably feels a little guilty. Like,
Board, you ready for this one? Rogue One. Yeah, I know.
Good take.
A lot of people want to put Revenge of the Sith or ROTJ, Return of the Jedi, on this list at this point. I go Rogue One. I think Rogue One is an actually really well.
By the way, Rogue One, Solo, very similar things. I thought they were both great. I think Solo, I think it's a shame because I don't think we've ever really gotten. I guess we'll make arguments for and against The Last Jedi, whatever. We can do that all day. I don't think there've been that many bad Star Wars movies, and I don't know why they just stopped. Like I know it stopped making as much money, like it stopped making billions of dollars, but like I think the next time Star Wars movie's on the big screen, it's gonna make $1 billion again. Like I think that Rogue One was great. I think Andor, which came out of Rogue One, which I'm pretty sure this video is before Andor, but I think Andor is great. And I think that Solo was great. Like, I think that kind of, gritty level action.
Well-made film. Rogue One is fascinating. It has just enough tips of the hat to the original Star Wars trilogy to draw you in. Also, the ending of it is shocking, right? This is one of the new Star Wars films, and one of the original kind of Star Wars recognitions is that nobody who's a major character except Alec Guinness dies in the first 3 Star Wars. Right? Not a single major character who is a hero dies in the first 3 Star Wars, at least not of old age. Right? I mean, Yoda dies of old age. But Rogue One kills off all the main characters at the end, which is a shock.
Either you have to do that or you have to find some way to hide them. Because at the end of the day, and I think I said this even when I talked about Rogue One, but you have to find a way to hide everything. Right? Hide all these characters because they can't just exist. Because then you're like, well, where were they in the original trilogy?
I remember watching this in the theater for the first time. I was like, whoa, what did they just do? They just set you up with all of these characters who you actually like, and then they kill all of them? Somebody described, I made fun of them at the time, but they were kind of right. They described Rogue One as an actual war film, as in not just Star Wars, but an actual war film, and that's right. I mean, this is about human sacrifice and what people are willing to do in order to accomplish a mission, including giving up your life if you're, in this case, probably 25 years old, as the main heroes of the plot are. So Rogue One is really good. Also, the final scene where Darth Vader finally lets loose is just ridiculously good. And if you ever watch the mashup of the end of Rogue One and the beginning of New Hope, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. They just take the very end of Rogue One, where Darth Vader is just cutting a swath through people, and then the beginning of episode 4, where Darth Vader catches the Tantive 4, and they just mash it up, and it works perfectly. It's beautiful. Number 2 is A New Hope. And
I understand I'm on an island here, but I think A New Hope's better than the movie he's going to say next. Actually, I think the movie he said next in my own rankings would be a little bit further down. But
some controversy over whether A New Hope should go in front of Empire. The only reason being that Empire wouldn't exist without New Hope.
Correct.
But New Hope is also, in and of itself.
So I don't know. I don't know if I've told the story on the internet yet, but so I have the 3 set of the DVD, right? And I have the New Hope, Empire, and Return of the Jedi, right? It's like a little box set. It's over there somewhere. And it was when I was young or whatever. It'd be in the car and there's like a DVD player, right? And whenever in a car on a road trip, you want to put in a Star Wars movie, or at least I did. And it became this thing, right, where the most watched ones for me were Return of the Jedi and A New Hope. And Empire would just sit there in the case. like I'd seen it obviously, but like it was just kind of like yeah, Empire just kind of sits there. Like it was never, and I think that kind of maybe like, and I don't know why. I think it was the Battle of Hoth. I didn't love the Hoth stuff. I kind of found it boring. I just didn't think there was a lot to love there. The Cloud City stuff was fine, but like it was very often the case where it just kind of just sit in the box, right? And I just don't have that.
A very good movie. Now, I know these movies hold up because I've shown them to my 6 and my 3-year-old, and they love them. I mean, they are into them. I've shown them some of the new movies, not as much. A New Hope is fantastic. It's creative. It's interesting. It obviously follows all the beats in Joseph Campbell. So it is famously reflective of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey.
Yeah.
It's got some of the best lines in movie history, stuff that everybody quotes all the time. It's got great legit actors like Alec Guinness alongside newcomers.
Also, like, and the other thing, I'm sure people have seen this on the internet, but there's this video where it shows the A New Hope without music. My God, is it a terrible movie? Or like they show
like Harrison Ford. The initial opening is so good. I actually use the initial opening as an explanation of how politics ought to work in a campaign, because the initial opening is all Darth Vader, right? You don't meet Luke for the first like 20 minutes of the film, basically, the first 15 minutes of the film. And that's because you first have to establish the bad guys before you establish the good guys. It's a good lesson for
He's not wrong.
people who are running in politics. If you ever want to run a political campaign.
See, again, you know, he kind of hits it right in the head, and this is obviously true. He's right. And
first establish who your opponent is, and then it makes it easier to establish who you are. And finally, as you all know, number one, this is not a question, this is not a theory, this is not an opinion, it is a simple fact. Empire Strikes Back is the best of the Star Wars movies and one of the best movies of all time. My father assures me that when people saw this in the theaters, they literally could not believe. They had to wait until Return of...
The other thing, right? And I think because I didn't grow up, like I didn't see this for the first time in theaters, right? I don't think I could I have the same perspective on it because, you know, as cool as it was that Luke Skywalker, like it was a little bit more of like a well-known fact, even before I had seen the movies. So it wasn't this ground-shaking revelation. And so I think that's kind of what hurts it in my mind, because obviously the most iconic scene, one of the most iconic scenes in film history is the I Am Your Father scene. I think because it wasn't that much of a revelation, and, you know, obviously I was born when the prequels were already out too, so, like, you know, although you know what I mean? Like, I think there is a little bit of that.
The Jedi came out for confirmation that Darth Vader was telling the truth. People doubted it, even after watching Empire Strikes Back.
That's kind of like where I kind of understand that my opinion, and this is probably incorrect, even though I love A New Hope, because I feel like it's a much more compressed and compact and a perfect kind of structural movie. I think that obviously got the best moment in film history, and I think it had more impact if you saw it in theaters. I did.
It's a brilliant movie. One of the things that's great about the movie is it's really about how Han Solo is competent. And one of the things that Disney has done with the Star Wars universe that's really stupid is they've decided that basically all the male characters are radically incompetent. In the original Star Wars, pretty much everybody's good at their job, right? Princess Leia is competent. Han Solo is competent.
There's also like only 2 female characters in all of Star Wars. But
Luke Skywalker is increasingly competent. Darth Vader is competent. It's a bunch of competent people. You know what makes for interesting plots? Competent people. Empire Strikes Back is all about how Han Solo is shockingly competent at all the things he's attempting to do. And how he's a rogue, and all, the writing is fantastic. Lawrence Kasdan does a beautiful job with the script. Also, everything Yoda related is just tremendous. And of course, it has a phenomenal, phenomenal score.
Okay, that's enough. I don't need any more of this. Not as bad of a list as I thought. Some of the obvious things are there. You know, you obviously are going to have The Last Jedi, Force Awakens, and Rise of Skywalker low because it's Disney. He actually has Rogue One respectably high. And I mean, you know, I disagree with some things. I think for The Phantom Menace, for me at least, is much higher. But interesting. Anyways, what is your favorite Star Wars movie? This is a 40-minute video, so, you know. Thank you for 15 minutes of content, Ben Shapiro. Anyways, let me know what you thought of the video down below. If you want me to do more of this stuff, I mean, you know, I tell you, you can do some of them. I can do some of the Marvel stuff they talk about too. I tell you, I won't agree with them or think they're this competent for any of that stuff. But, you know, let me know. Anyways, thank you for watching. Bye.